Good evening. I'm Anita Taylor. I'm the director of the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize project, and I'm also the Dean of Duncan of Jordenston College of Art and Design at the University of Dundee. It's my enormous privilege to be here to welcome you this evening to our online preview and the awards announcement of the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize 2020. We have an action-packed evening ahead online, and whilst we're incredibly sorry not to be gathering at Trinity Buoy Wharf in London for this event, for the exhibition and for the awards announcement, I hope that you'll enjoy the evening. Thank you for joining us.
Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize is three things for me. It is an opportunity to think about what is it that I have made this year that I can submit for the consideration of the panel that changes every year. It is also, of course, the wonderful touring exhibition, and also it is a community of like-minded people who are excited about drawing.
Being shortlisted for the exhibition opened up a lot of opportunities for me. I was invited to speak at a couple of conferences and invited to run workshops based around my practice. It put me in touch with a new audience and helped me to become more confident in speaking about my work.
Welcome to this marvellous collection of drawings gathered together as part of the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize. Of course, that's really important. Here they are as competitors, if you like. But drawing is the base of everything. The very building we're standing in now existed originally as a drawing. And very close to here, just across the river, a very famous man called Brunel had to build a tunnel. First time a tunnel built under a tidal river. And how did he first get the money together and second get the instructions out to the workforce? With drawings. Drawings really are the start of nearly everything that we make and do. Here we have the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize. This year, marvellously, or in fact just last year, marvellously with the greatest number of entries ever. That's really splendid. It's marvellous. Sadly, but just right now, there's only me to see them. But nevertheless, here they are as an exhibition. They will be available on film. It will go out to a much larger number of people. It is already very well reviewed. So it's very exciting for us here at Trinity Buoy Wharf to see this marvellous array of drawings. Drawings are the basis of everything. Children can do it, old people can do it, engineers can do it, artists who have very strange ideas in some cases can do it. Drawing is so important. It is the base of many things that we do. So welcome to the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize.
I was a judge of it, I think probably 10 years ago, enjoyed every minute of it. And one of the things I liked most about the prize was that it was up to the people who participated to decide what drawing was, not some boring old academic like me. And I just thought it was a breath of fresh air for people to be able to say, this is a drawing.
The TBW Drawing Prize is the most important drawing prize in the country, and it has taken my work onto another level. It was shown at the Saatchi Draw Art Fair London and was bought by an important collector, and since then things have really moved forward. And I know that without entering the prize, that just wouldn't have happened.
The Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize as a project began in 1994, and it began as an artist-led initiative. It began in an art school, and it began at what is now the University of Gloucestershire, where I was then head of painting. It was established partly because it was really difficult to see contemporary drawings. It was partly that as an artist who drew, my co-founder Paul Thomas also drew, many of our colleagues made drawings, but actually it was very difficult to find anywhere to show them. It was also very difficult to talk to students about drawings that were being made now, and in the now, then. And in 1994, the programme at what was Cheltenham School of Art had a structured drawing programme as its beginning, because we felt that drawing was a vital means of communication and expression, and that students needed to understand the different systems of drawing and the way that drawing was applied throughout history and in contemporary drawing. So teaching students how to draw without examples that were live or could be seen in contemporary galleries seemed to be a challenge. We had the opportunity to take on a project that had started, and we redevised it from the perspective of, we redevised it with the students and as artists to think about what would make a good open exhibition project, knowing that open exhibitions are a way that artists and others get their work in front of people who are experts in the field, who may see their work, because once you leave art school it's very difficult. The response to the first year of doing it in 1994 was phenomenal. We had, I think, around 700 submissions from get-go, completely from making a decision to do this as a professional practice project and to celebrate the role and practice of drawing, and also to think about who was drawing, where were they drawing, how were they drawing, what could we call a drawing. And actually that inquiry of what was drawing sits around the whole project, because we have slippery definitions, and again teaching drawing, having a vocabulary, having a discourse, having reference to what drawing could be was really important. It's run since 1996 on a cycle where we do a call for entry early in the year, in the calendar year. We have all the work in submitted by June, July, so it's selected. We've always used the resources of art schools until the last 3 years, so we've used the studios to select in, and we've used that summer period to see all the work, to give students paid work experience, for them to gain academic credit from working on it, and to go see the whole process as witnesses, observers, participants. So they'll be learning about arts administration, technical handling, how people frame works, what people think about drawing, and getting to witness as silent observers a selection process. So it's always had an educational space. So it's a rounded project in that sense. And we've worked with phenomenal selectors.
Hi, my name is Tanya Kovacs. I'm an artist and I'm also Professor of Drawing and Making at University of Dundee. In 2009, I was one of the selectors for what was then the Jerwood Drawing Prize, so I followed this exhibition and massive survey of contemporary drawing practice for some time now. Tonight's a fantastic celebration of some winners, but also a celebration of drawing, and I think this year, of all years, I think drawing has been an incredibly important tool of communication and connection and understanding where we are in the world. So huge congratulations to today's winners and also to drawing.
The selection process is really important for us. So the process is that works are presented to an amazing panel, and they're presented with absolutely no information about them. We're really only interested in a drawing conveying its visual values, through its visual values, its intention, its appropriateness in form, subject, content, and the way that it actually aligns all of those things to mean something that can be read without title, without recourse to anything else, and without anybody knowing who's made them. The main selection panel for the Trinity Buoy Wharf 2020 was Sophia Howe, principal curator of the Cooper Gallery, Ian McKeever, the artist, and Francis Morris, director of Tate Modern. They see all the work in the reel, and we lay the work out so that people can have a relationship with those drawings in the way that you would by entering a gallery. So we're not walking things by and people voting. We're always encouraging a dialogue between those selectors, always trying to get different perspectives, different experiences, different kinds of people with an expertise and a joy, a passion for looking at drawing, to come together to have that dialogue. In 2001, the Jerwood Charitable Foundation became the principal sponsor, and they had funded by 2017 just short of £1 million towards the project. And we were really, really thrilled when we found our new sponsor after Jerwood, the Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust. So 2020 is a really special year for the project. It's the 25th annual exhibition, so continuously consecutive annual shows. It's the third year of fantastic funding from our new sponsors, Trinity, Buoy, Wharf Trust. And in this special year, before the pandemic, before lockdown happened, we'd made two key decisions. And one was to return to an international submission. In the year of Brexit, it seemed even more important to have no barriers, to think about where people were drawing. I mean, drawing's a universal language. It's something that we use across cultures, across borders, across different domains in art and design and beyond. And it seemed this was the moment that we should return to our aspiration to reflect drawing practice wherever it was happening, well, interesting drawing practice wherever it could be, through the framework of the project.
I think drawing is an amazing activity to do, and whether it's large public drawings like I make or something that's very private, that's in a little notebook, I think it's just something just special to do.
Hi, my name is Melanie Jackson. I'm an artist and a lecturer, and a few words about drawing and the Drawing Prize and Exhibition, which I took part in and was lucky enough to win back in 2006, which sustained drawing for me and validated drawing for me in a whole new way. I've always drawn, bringing things to life, bringing things to a space that didn't exist before, embellishing and inventing life, reinventing the world has become a sustenance and a practice during lockdown, and I hope you can get as much from it as I have.
So this year feels, despite lockdown, like an incredibly celebratory year. I'm always humbled by people who submit their work. I'm humbled by the trust that we have, but that trust matters. So we try and do our best to create a place of respect, a place of value, and a place of celebration of drawing.
I won a prize at the drawing competition years and years ago, and I still remember the shock and delight when my name was announced. It's so difficult being an artist at the best of times. It does sometimes feel like you're shouting into a void. So getting into the competition, winning a prize, was a real affirmation, both professionally and personally. And it is a big deal. I think people do sit up and take notice. I think every artist should win a prize now and again.
Well, here we are in the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize 2020 exhibition at Trinity Buoy Wharf in London. So I hope you're going to enjoy joining me for a brief walkthrough of the exhibition so that you have an idea of the scale, the kind of work involved and who the artists are. And we're starting here at the entrance to the chain store with three beautiful drawings by Sally Wood. And these are three drawings, Seattle, and two drawings of Joshua, who are made during lockdown. They're very small drawings and they're 14 by 10 centimetres each. And they're made in biro, and they're made from photographs during lockdown as she was unable to go to her studio. And they really share a way in which drawing can bring people and their representation, their presence closer in this current and extraordinary context. And then over here, we have a drawing by Helena McGrath, which is called Closer To. And again, it's a drawing very much about it being in lockdown, of a family, a space, a domestic interior and home, which is rather fully populated. And then these three beautiful drawings by Nancy Haslam Chance of Tea, Teeth and Pendant Alarm. And these are drawings about caring, and they're drawings which really have a pathos and a sense of that whole relationship, and they're made about the experiences of being a carer and drawn afterwards from memory. Then we have this huge drawing by Laura Jacobs, which again is a drawing really talking about how space expands and implodes and explodes through drawing and observation and reflection. So it's a drawing using fairly conventional means of observation, and it is called Cupboard. This drawing by Setenay Alpsoy, who's one of our artists from Istanbul in Turkey. And this drawing is called Gayretepe Last Stop, and it's a drawing about a housing complex at the end of a commuter line into the centre of Istanbul, which is going through a process of gentrification. And this drawing, obviously it presents a flat plane. To the flat plane that we're looking at as this face of a block of flats. And we see all sorts of extraordinary details as we focus in on the drawing.
Over the 25 years that it's been running, I think that this particular undertaking has influenced very much the way that drawing has been perceived and practiced throughout the last 20 years. I think the reason it has the profile it has now is in part to do with the influence of the drawing prize.
And this drawing by Lucy Anderson, who's based in the Netherlands, is a drawing about Abueli. It's called Abueli, Conversations with Grandson. And again, it's a drawing about breaking bread, sharing a meal, having an intimate conversation in a domestic environment between generations. So it's a drawing that's exquisitely wrought in charcoal and pastel on paper. It's unframed, so when you can see it, this is a drawing uninterfered by the reflections of glazing. And then we have a number of the moving image works. There are 7 in total in the exhibition. There are 5 presented here, which includes Ian Andrews' breath drawing, which reflects on the idea of breath as both the giver of life and also the transmitter of the virus that we're all living with. A film made from charcoal drawings of breath, compiled to make the moving image and to talk about that shifting relationship. And then Carolyn Black's film, As Above, So Below, which is a digital video. It's just under 2 minutes long, so it's short, but it has a reflection on how we perceive and see the world. It's also accompanied by a musical score that's been made for the film.
Oak branches above, waving. Switch right frame, swing still swings, storm-blown branches swing high, swing low.
And then Jodine's video Southern Trains Loop, which is a very short film which is looped. It's 53 seconds. It's about trains passing through a station. It has this fantastic horizontal line that runs through the whole of the film with the sense of movement and stasis, watching the world go by. And then we also have Yin Ryan Tung's very complex animation game, which is 10 minutes and 21 seconds long, so it's quite a long moving image work, and it's called Phygital Habitat, and it's a really complex piece which is really well worth taking the time to watch, and hopefully you'll be able to see this online in a few days' time. And then the final one of the moving image works in this area is a documentation of a performative and participative drawing made with charcoal on paper in a gallery. It's by M. Lowram, who's an artist based in Tenerife, and it's 13 minutes and 6 seconds of documentation. The exhibition has already been out on tour. It's been to Drawing Projects UK in Wiltshire and to the Cooper Gallery in Dundee. And in Cooper Gallery in Dundee, this piece was recreated as the introduction as part of the exhibition, as a participative piece with the instructions rewritten. As you can see, you see that people might touch each other in this particular documentation of it. It's been rewritten and recast for participants to engage whilst maintaining social distancing as required through this process. We've also made a smaller version of this at Trinity Buoy Wharf, which is outdoors, charcoal on the wall, and that means that if you're able to meet with another person, if you need to follow all the guidelines and regulations, if you're living nearby and the heritage site is within your walking distance to take your daily exercise. We have been able to display outside these 5 moving image works, and also some information about the exhibition, but also the version of M. Lowram's participative drawing, which has been refactored for 2 participants. Over to the other side of the films and their projection space within the gallery in the chain store are these 2 enormous drawings by Isabel Rock. They are both 110 by 160 centimetres, so they're very complex drawings which talk about, they're both titled Grief 1 and 2. They're very much about islands and occupancy of space within a contained environment, and obviously they're reflecting on complex human relationships. They're very, very detailed, so they're something that actually you really do need to zoom in on, even when you're in the space. It's actually to zoom in and really look at the detail. They apprehend you from a distance, they invite you in to explore a very complex, busy set of happenings, events, relationships that are being depicted within these drawings. And then over here we have Ruth Richmond's 5 lockdown soul poles, which are painted with chalk paint on hazel cordwood, which is it's coppiced hazel cordwood. So they actually have a real weight to them, and they have these banded marks that reflect both the surface of the cordwood, but also they talk about a relationship and embodying the idea of the soul, or within each of these parts of the piece.
I'm Paul Branford. In 2003, I won the Gerwood Drawing Prize, as it was called back then. What did it do for me? It gave me an awful lot of confidence. The confidence to know that my work could stand on its own 2 feet beyond the studio setting. It also gave me the belief that I could just keep going, in a sense. It gave me sort of quite a strong sense of optimism that somebody out there kind of regarded what I was doing. It didn't make me rich, didn't make me famous, it didn't get me gallery representation, but that sense of underlining that in some way I was on the right path was more valuable than any of those things.
Nina Cha's work, Marker 170, is again, it's a drawn piece, it's intensively drawn. It is a transformed piece of paper, so Marker 170 describes how it's made, what it's made with. It is a crumpled piece of paper which occupies, so it's something which is normally flat and fine, occupying a space, in this instance on the gallery floor. So you can see when you look closely at it, the marks that make that dark tonal surface. You can also see a white line around the edge of the paper in some parts of it. And then we have Louise Schmidt's drawing Nolly Montanger, which is a small drawing. It's made on airmail paper with pencil, oil bar and acrylic, and it's clearly talking about those fingers that don't quite touch. So it is about the space and our overriding message, which is not to touch each other. And these viral spots are circulating from the fingernails to the other hand. So again, a really beautiful drawing that forms an equivalent to an instruction or an experience that we're all going through. And Chris Bruce's Island People, clearly you can see there's a relationship to perhaps the Isabel Rocks, but this is a drawing which the images and the narrative are hewn out of the mark making. So it's a drawing where the marks are made, the graphite, and then these images teased out, which again are very much about being on an island in this space of containment.
One of the things that I think is relevant about the show is each year how different it is. It's not fallen into the pit of something that happens annually and is sort of repetitious. It's new each year. And I think the reason for that is to do with the strategy of having new judges each year who bring their own position, tastes, attitudes. And so that each year it's fresh, each year it's new, and each year it shows us what's happening in contemporary drawing practice.
In the next section of the exhibition, which runs through the middle of the exhibition, there are a number of drawings which are quite modest in size, but very impactful in terms of their meaning and construction and the way that they're made, what they're talking about and conveying. So Demeter Dyke's drawing Parting is made with shredded paper on graph paper. So it's an amazing piece which is almost like a piece of textiles. It's made of these tiny pieces of shredded graph paper which are then reconstructed to form this dual, it's a vertical separation. This piece by Sian Bowen and Simon Grenell is a collaborative drawing, and it is a drawing that we do have a recording of the event of the two artists speaking together. It's called Firefly Basket Tally, and it is about testing that collaboration, the dialogue through drawing, the transmission of information through a drawn image. Becky Allen's drawing Warp Horizon is ink on quite long paper panels, so it's a drawing that's made on paper panels which are stretched and then as a composite come together to form the overall image. They are line drawings, and clearly we're looking at things which are quite formally structured to create both pattern but also to examine the role of line and its interruption within the way that it's put together. It's a very beautiful drawing. And then Mandy Bonnell's drawing Punta Rosa Full Stop is a drawing which is a diptych in format, again a little like Demeter Dyke's, but it's a horizontal diptych. And it's created with a very fine hard pencil which makes these very fine beautiful marks which are almost lace-like or foliage-like on the left-hand part of the drawing, and very much a very systematic, rigorous mapping, a grid made by making fine points into the paper on the right-hand side. This drawing by Mark Clay is a drawing called Timelines 2019, and it's made with graphite and a stylus on tracing paper. And it's about tracing the route of a disused railway line across the island of Anglesey. Catherine Webster's drawing, television drawing Cold Case Files, is a drawing made on an iPad, and it explores the potential relationship between drawing and the televisual, which has been central to her practice for the last 20 years. And she's been drawing randomly selected television programmes as visual encounters experienced across the time frame of the programme. Seamus Staunton's drawing is called Fold, and it refers to the dual meaning of the word fold as both an enclosure and the physical action of flexing. So these are very formal drawings made from dense concentric laminations of pencil lines, and there's a tension between that velocity of this curvilinear structure and outline and the stillness of the drawing as it becomes almost object-like in its form. Bob Deakin's drawing, Dave a Modest Man, is a drawing that began in a live drawing session with a digital drawing in Microsoft Word using a laptop and a mouse, which sounds enormously complex. And that drawing doesn't allow to stop and start a line, so it moves in a way the choice of the medium of making determines the way that the marks can be rendered and made. So it develops this sort of extraordinary distortion through the drawing, which feels almost haptic, even though it's through a very mechanical, logical process. So we're now moving into the middle section of the exhibition, and here we have Tricia Gilman's drawing, which is called Moments 3 Beneath the Skin, and it's made in charcoal pencil and pastel on cotton duck, and it's tall, it's 180 by 86 centimetres, and it has a depth to it. It's on a stretcher, so it sits proud of the wall. And it's part of a series of works that locate, document and process the moment by moment awareness of being conscious. So it's intended to mirror emergence and dissolution, dissolving of thoughts, memories, imagination. So you have all sorts of fragments of thinking as a residue which sit on this skin, almost like not a bruising, but a sense of things appearing and disappearing across the surface. So it has bits of text, it has elements of things seen, things remembered, and it's a very eloquent, poetic drawing.
Hearing I've been selected for both the John Moores and the Trinity Buoy Wharf Painting Prize this year was like a flash of warmth and brightness in a rather grey lockdown landscape. Particularly this year, the sense that there was life and hope out there was so welcome. But every year, the Trinity Buoy Wharf is such a wonderful opportunity for us all, and to see what people are doing. And I always go to the show, whether I'm selected or not, and I just feel that Anita Taylor and all those involved with this ongoing commitment to the show need to be very warmly thanked and congratulated.
Holly Mill's drawing is a very small, modest piece, and it's called Things That Are Nice. It's made with oil transfer on paper, and it's 21 by 14 centimetres. And it's really simply what it says it is. Thoughts on nice thing are made to lift the mood as a reminder of other things and different lives and different experiences. R&F Moe's work, they have these two pieces in the exhibition. They're made on quite provisional material, so they're made on cardboard. You can see the folds in, Cowboy Reflect Me, which is the larger one. So they're made on these very provisional materials and use that informality of the cardboard as part of the making process and a sense of play within them. So they reflect on journeys. So one relates to a road trip through Arizona, and one of them obviously just relates simply to the relationship between animals and people, which underpins both works. So they're very joyful, and they have a kind of potential narrative reading that we can play with. Eleanor Wood's cipher drawing is a found book. It's an early 20th century book, and it's then drawn over. It's got waxed paper involved, pencil and oil bar, and that emphasis on the horizontal echoes the appearance of writing. It talks to the idea of drawing, writing, language, code, and the way that we communicate. Anna Barrett's work, Shitting Fingers, is obviously a figurative work. It's highly coloured, it's got all sorts of signs happening within it, and it's a figure that points to its own messy waste, to use the artist's words, and it talks to the idea of human destruction by toxic industry and factory farming. Hormad's Narielwaller's drawing is an artist's book, and it's an artist's book called Rock, Paper, Scissors. So it's made in an edition of 100, so it's not a unique item, but drawing is absolutely at its core in terms of its subject and content and rendering, based on a series of pattern drawings sourced from a tailoring manual. So it's cutting and assembly methods that it's really interested in. Rebecca Bramwell's drawing of the 8th of May 2020 explores how the simplest of materials, a fine pencil line repeated, creates unintended form from 3 vertical points. So drawing very much about the act of making and then reflecting on what is made and the confluences that brings. Nicola Grelier's drawing is called No Backbone. It's number 229, and it's from a series of 366, which is a year-long daily diaristic project of drawings and collage, which use a lexicon of shapes, marks and text to describe physical touch, habitual behaviour, ageing and deterioration. And they draw attention to the fleeting nature of time by producing these things that relate to memories of the extraordinary months between the midsummer 2019 to midsummer 2020. Eutavia George has 3 drawings in the exhibition. They're 3 of a series of 6 called Beyond Confinement. And the work is really quite intimate. They're very dramatic in terms of their tonal contrast, but what they're documenting is the streetlight and sunlight as the only visitors to her Parisian apartment during the confinement season. They're made in series, and they intend to capture time and that way that the outdoors tracks and traces into the indoors, as maybe the only thing that can be monitored if you're in real isolation in a place. Utavia is based in Paris, where she's undertaking a postgraduate programme at Paris College of the Arts. Cheryl Lewis has this fantastic drawing called Species, which was made in 2020. It's made with graphite on paper, and it's 152 by 121 centimetres. So it's a big drawing, but it's made of these tiny component parts, which are developed from Rorschach prints, but made in graphite, and they're made on pieces of paper which are almost the size of a business card. So they're about repeating the same simple process, which then gives us a unique and complex pattern. So it starts to develop its own inherent structure, in which you can start to compare and explore infinitely complex and dynamic patterns of nature's alchemy. Sandy Kendall's drawing is called Untitled. It's a drawing made on several sheets of paper. It began life as a single drawing, worked on into a small sketchbook from faces on the TV screen. And it developed into a much larger project by assembling these images in a multi-aperture mount, which starts to talk about old movie strips. The sketchbook holes form on the left have a kind of sense of reference to films or negatives, and it's a drawing which really does almost talk to that kind of sense that we've only been seeing, or many of us have only been seeing people through the aperture of a screen, and often in multi-components, but it's a very hand-wrought response to that. This is Akash Bhatt's drawing. It's called Shak Rotli, and Shak Rotli is Gujarati for curry and chapatis. And the writing surrounding this portrait comes from the freezer labels that he's saved in a book over the years from his mother's food containers, which she freezes for him to use at a later date. However, the labels, he says, not only depict the various shaks she has cooked, but also a multitude of other dishes she's supplied me with for years. So again, something about nurture, care, and a unique relationship through food.
Being part of the prize for 2 consecutive years was great in that it meant that my work was part of an exhibition which was dedicated to the exploration of drawing in all of its forms, and it also meant that my work reached kind of a larger audience within the context of a touring exhibition. And in terms of my career, this was really beneficial, and it meant that as well as my work, being, having a greater degree of exposure, it also meant that it became part of a conversation about the nature of drawing and its significance within the context of contemporary art practice.
In this section, there are these 2 beautiful drawings by Peter Sutton. They're called Middle Drove and Witcham Toll. And these drawings are made by Peter. He moved to rural Cambridgeshire at the beginning of 2020, and they're part of an ongoing series in response to the modern fenland landscape. Amazingly atmospheric as drawings with these silent structures in the landscape. This little drawing by Andy Black is absolutely a tiny drawing. He does make much larger work too. It's called Small Heaps, and it's 8 by 12 centimetres, so really pocket-sized. And Andy talks about having an alphabet of around 200 drawings of forms that they derive from a whole range of sources, some from the landscape, some from geometric influences, some that are reminiscent of topiary or architecture. Aisha Zolgada's drawing is a digital drawing. It's here presented as a G-clay print, and the drawing is called Circling the Square One, and it traces repetitive walks made by her father from the 7th of February to the 21st of May in 2020. And they're looping the square outside of his home multiple times a day, following different paths. So they're about him going for a walk, but they're recorded through the Strava platform, which formulates a way to generate line drawings. So the work then expresses an abstracted visual database transcribing 116 meditative walks by her father. Frank Loiver's 3 drawings are made in sellotape on paper, and they're all untitled. One is of an attic, and 2 are entitled Untitled Room. They're part of an ongoing series of drawings made with sellotape, and some of them depict locations that he's been to, and remembered, and others are completely constructed or made up. And he's very interested in how the overlaid tape transforms the drawing underneath and how it adds various depths of colour, and that they start to describe the atmosphere of each specific site. Ray Fior-Lowe has this beautiful drawing made as part of a series called a light scattering of 6 particles, and it maps where the sun's ray entered the atrium of the Slade School of Art between November 2018 and May 2019. Nigel Bird's drawing, Piston Petals, is made with white gloss paint, water and carbon deposits on board, and it's very much a material response to making. It's really about the dialogue between materials and process, and obviously it has a reference to landscape, but it's very much about that real enjoyment in making, and the materiality of this piece is really beautiful in the real. Christopher Jones' drawing is called Other Side. It's a pencil, chalk, biro, ink, gesso, paper drawing on honeycombed carton. He's been making drawings for a while on discarded blocks of carton prepared with gesso. So they're very much a formal construction, and they're made in response to the previous making. So they're made as a series, they're made construction in response to a previous construction. It's absolutely beautifully rendered, and it sits proud of the surface that it's presented on. James Robert Morrison's pieces are 3 drawings from a series which are all entitled There Is Never More Than a Fag Paper Between Them, and then they're individual portraits of couples, so Phil and Jacob, Leo and Brian, Andrew and Ben. And they're inspired by the happenstance of hearing a conversation between a gay guy in his mid-teens describing a gay couple as they never have more than a fag paper between them. And the reflection back at his age, James didn't know anyone who was gay, single or couple, and there were no out and proud gay public figures or couples to look to either. So they're drawn from a collection of gay pornography. They're really the central reference that was there. If we think about how much has changed since Section 28, and so these drawings both contain something very personal, they contain something political, but they also make that through the equivalence of making. So they're made on individual cigarette papers, which are pieced together by licking them, by making this composite surface, which is very fragile, and then heavily working them with graphite to render the drawings inspired by the photographic collection. Kay McCrann's drawings are 2 drawings which were called Beetle Walking Along a Finger, Live Photo on Bounce and Live Photo on Loop. And Kay's drawings are part of a series of works investigating how to explore the human-insect entanglement of a beetle landing on a figure, and using embodied drawing techniques, so using blind drawing, using live photo on an iPhone to record the experience, and describing an unpredictable and fleeting moment. Simon Brewster's drawings, plug hole and arms race drawing machine. In the exhibition we have a film of the drawing machines that he makes making these drawings. So he has the 2 works in the show. We also have the machines themselves, which are made with clockwork motors, and then they're adapted with things attached to them to make the drawings, and they he has an inkwell that they gather the colour and the wetness of ink to drag across the surface, either through the feather or through the little figures, which are plastic figures, toy soldiers carrying the ink across the surface. So they're quite mesmerising, and they are really beautiful when you can actually see the machines working. You get the sense of that through the films that are on show, as well as seeing the evidence of the drawing itself. Camilla Bruton's drawing, Lines 1. It's from a series of drawings of the horizon on the East Scottish coast, inspired by wood engravings found in the Riviera pen and pencil sketches from Cannes to Genoa by the Dean of Canterbury in 1870.
Drawing is so fundamental to artistic practice that to receive the prize was especially gratifying. I've always perceived my paper cuts in terms of the language of drawing, and so the prize was a validation of this. In terms of how it's contributed to my development, it has led to many invitations to exhibitions and projects both in the UK and abroad that might otherwise not have occurred.
They've been very idiosyncratic groupings of artworks, but the works are always full of a kind of vitality that drawing has, this kind of immediacy and responsiveness to the time of its making. Drawing acts as a kind of vanguard that keeps pushing forwards and kind of altering and shifting the way we see things. And I think the Drawing Prize has captured that over its lifetime.
The other brilliant thing that happened with Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust is the trust works with urban space management who operate Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust. And Eric Reynolds, who heads up urban space management, is an incredible, passionate supporter of drawing, and he's really interested in the role of working drawings. So when we first became supported by the Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust, a working drawing award was introduced. And we'd run it for 2 years, and we felt this was the year also to give it more profile. And while it had a separate selection panel who looked at the drawings that had already been selected in 2019, we established a separate process for the working drawings so that we could think about drawing in art, design, science, engineering, architecture, wherever drawing is happening. So we had a separate selection panel. We had Sir Ian Blatchford, who's director of the Science Museum, Piers Goff, the architect, and Sophie McKinley, director of programme at V&A Dundee, who looked specifically at that aspect of the submission. And we have in the exhibition 9 works by 8 drawing practitioners in this part of the display, I should say. And these include a work by Savas Papasava, who is part of a collective, an artist group, BBKP. And his practice, as he describes it, exists at the fringes of art. So we've got a moving image. There is also a handbook, a prototype copy, a proof copy of MOOC1 desktop CNC machine and its plans. And what we see here is a film of the CNC router machine, which is drawing its own front cover for the manual that describes how it is made. And then Malcolm Franklin's piece is a drawing for a sculpture installation project in Teatro Sanguinetto, Italia. And the drawing was made while planning a sculptural installation for a small private theatre near Verona in Italy. And around 45 anchors hang from the ceiling rafters and get close to the ground without reaching it. So this is a drawing which is depicting how this sculpture operates, exists in this particular space. Mien Dang's drawing, Recomposition Matrix 1-20 Details of London, explores the infinite possibilities of the matrix, highlighting the lightness and heaviness of materials and merging together the old and new. And she's trying to talk about how we reassess London's council housing and prioritising key characters in London essential to the functionality of the city. Jeanette Barnes is drawing Fracture, Cambridge Heath Station. Is a small drawing, it's 40 by 50 centimetres, it's pen and chalk on paper. And the drawing was made during lockdown when she couldn't access her studio. So she needed to make drawings and plans which develop an idea for a more substantial piece of work. Rachel Duckhouse sketches for a wristwatch movement decoration are pencil and ink drawings. They're made on the pages of a sketchbook, as one would generate ideas towards a design, and to the nature of a working drawing might well be that it's an idea captured in a sketchbook. They're really, really beautiful, and when you're up close to them you have a real sense of the thinking process as this design is being developed by her. Ben Johnson has 2 drawings in the exhibition. They're both working drawings towards a more significant or to a significant painting of the Scrivenie Chapel. They're explorations of drawing and how these are detailing and understanding the nature of the construction of the painting. So in the larger one you can see there is some working out in terms of how that sits in, is going to sit in a reconstructed pictorial space. So one is ink on paper, the larger drawing, which is 101 by 152 centimetres, and the smaller one is a line drawing on chalkboard, which is much smaller and very focused on one particular aspect.
It's at the drawing board that I make my commitment to lay down the foundations of an investigation. Through making marks, I discover something about myself and the potential for the work I hope to make. I have respect for my materials, and my materials lead the way. Paul Klee said he used to take a line for a walk. I let the line take me for a walk. And that's a walk of discovery and a journey where I can find my roots, to find the still point of the turning world. By being part of the Drawing Prize, I've also joined a community of like-minded people, a very diverse group, very different intentions, but integrity and commitment lies at the base of all of the works that one finds there.
Xiao Mei's drawing is a digital painting. It's called Storyboard of Journey in Calanque Landscape, and it's part of a project within the national park, the Le Calanque National Park in Marseille, and it forms part of an ongoing study regarding landscape walking. So it's really about capturing fragments, dismantling and redefining prevalent concepts of time in the field of landscape architecture. And its idea is really to think about how we develop immersive experiences translated across spatial and temporal scales. Jack Green's drawing also talks to lockdown. It's called Wild Errol, Remote Working with Students, and it's a digital print. These are drawings produced to support teaching delivered remotely during the lockdown in 2020. And the students from Edinburgh were engaged in a semester-long project in the Tayside village of Errol as part of their first year architecture studio. It's a drawing that talks actually to the process of teaching and pedagogy, as well as to the experience of how architecture is planned and developed. So I think it's a really interesting drawing to have in the exhibition. That concludes our walking tour. Thank you for joining me on the whistle-stop preview of the exhibition. We look forward to launching the online interactive version soon, which is currently being made, and we hope we'll be launching this week. So we look forward to you being able to explore the exhibition with your own interests, your own agendas, your own thoughts and responses, and to understand the motivations of each of the makers of these drawings in more detail from the information that we have.
Hello, I'm Ian Gillespie. I'm the Principal and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Dundee. University of Dundee is incredibly proud to be the academic home of the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize project. We were really delighted to present the exhibition to the public at the Cooper Gallery across November and December to really great acclaim, and that was despite the lockdown and the challenges around COVID. We wish all the selected artists, architects and designers the very best of luck for the awards ceremony this evening. And finally, let me just give my most sincere thanks to the Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust as our funding partner. Thank you and good luck.
What I have learned most from the artists is the radical ways of seeing and being, in which each mark attests and bears witness to a moment of becoming that is always incomplete and passing, concerned with and bound up in the urgencies of the experiential and embodied subject. It is in this sense that a drawing, whether figurative, abstract, or otherwise, can be considered as a discursive process and, more importantly, as a dialogue. evocative of collaborative and imaginative reverie, which states honestly what it is to be human. So many of the works, agility and ambiguity of our interaction, concern for, and absolute involvement with this moment of the world, the body, and above all, with the possibilities of mark-making as a language that tells us everything about our humanity and the world we dwell in.
Well, it's the moment that we've all been waiting for. It's time to announce the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize 2020 award winners. And I'm thrilled that Eric Reynolds of Urban Space Management and Trinity Buoy Wharf will be announcing the Working Drawing Award 2020.
Having said that drawing is such a wide subject, we thought, the Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust and I thought it would be really good to give one area a focus, and that is the working drawing. Difficult, of course, to decide what a working drawing is. It could be a gardener, for example, doing a picture of a gardener in his or her imagination. But we decided, should if possible, be something that you could describe as a drawing from which something could be made. And out of all the people who put forward their drawings with the intention that they are something that could be used as an instruction, the judges chose Ben Jonson. With his marvellous drawing, a whole series of lines on paper, you have to look at it really carefully to understand all of it. Helpfully, he's given us a little piece at the bottom here, which focuses exactly the shape and size of what he's about. So, well done, Ben. You have created this year's Working Drawing winner.
Thank you, Eric, and many congratulations, Ben Jonson, on winning the Working Drawing Award 2020. We're now thrilled to welcome Frances Morris, Director of Tate Modern and one of the 3 selectors this year, to announce the awards for the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize 2020. Frances Morris has been Director of Tate Modern since 2016, curator, writer and broadcaster. Frances joined Tate in 1987, becoming Head of Displays at Tate Modern in 2000 and Director of Collections International Art from 2006. Alongside many exhibition projects and publications, including acclaimed retrospectives of Louise Bourgeois, Yayoi Kusama and Agnes Martin, Frances has led the transformation of Tate's international collection, strategically broadening and diversifying its international reach, developing the collecting of live art and performance, and pioneering new forms of museum display. Welcome, Frances, and thank you.
Good evening. I'm delighted to be here this evening, Wednesday, 13th of January 2021, to announce the winner of this year's Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize. For me, it's been an astonishing journey. It began on the slopes of Asturias in the mountains of Spain in July, when I joined colleagues Sophia and Ian to make our first selection from over 4,000 submissions by over 2,000 artists. And that was an exhilarating and exhausting afternoon. And today I'm thrilled to see the results of that endeavour in this very, very beautiful exhibition that I am probably one of the very few privileged individuals to see in real life. Drawing is an extraordinary medium that we tend to completely overlook. It sits behind so many different types of art practice, but in itself it's hugely expansive, from the tiniest little scribble to the installation. And what's marvellous about, I think, our selection for this year is that so many possibilities come out of the basic premise. It has been a year that has been full of surprises, not all of them pleasant, but a really great surprise is to find how much lockdown has actually impacted on the quality of the work. And there's some really, truly inspiring examples that I think touch on individual experiences, but also create a really powerful sense of the kind of collective mood. I'd like now to move on swiftly, because I know you're all desperate to hear the outcome of the selection panel that took place earlier this week. So I'm going to talk through the winners. First of all, naming 3 special commendations. Frank Loiver for his 3 beautiful sellotape drawings is commended by all of us. Then James Robert Morrison for, again, very moving, powerful, politically wrought drawings on fag paper. And finally commended by us is Isabel Rock's amazingly detailed, visionary narrative Leap from the Island. It was difficult to award our prizes because this year was so especially strong, but there was an outstanding student work which we chose unanimously, and that was a digital line drawing by Aisha Zolgada, Circling the Square, which we found captivating and beautiful and a very powerful example of how technology can help release real creativity. Again, the final prizes, second prize and first prize, were hotly contested. But in second place, we chose Nancy Haslam-Chance's 3 drawings, Tea, Teeth and Pendant Album, which all of us found captivating and poignant and incredibly eloquent of the moment in time and the virtues and values that we've all found in intimacy and personal care. And finally, for the first prize, I'm delighted to announce that M. Loram is the winner for her extraordinary You Are It, which is an instructional drawing for participation, a performance that lives in the moment, but also as a documentary video. And it's an energizing, collective, entirely positive work. And I'd like to end on that note and to encourage you all to celebrate, but above all, to get drawing.
So many congratulations to all of our award winners this evening. And so many congratulations to everyone who has their drawings included in the Trinity Buoy Wharf Drawing Prize 2020 exhibition. An enormous thank you to Frances Morris, Director of Tate Modern, for announcing the awards this evening, and also to all of our guest speakers who've contributed to this online event. I'd also like to personally thank Eric Reynolds and Eric Sorensen, the Chair of Trinity Buoy Wharf Trust, for their amazing support for the exhibition and the project overall, but particularly this year as we faced unprecedented times. And once again, we're sorry we're not gathered at Trinity Buoy Wharf itself for this event, but we hope to welcome you all to Trinity Buoy Wharf in the future and to celebrate drawing at the heart of a place that really supports the activities of drawing. We hope that you've enjoyed this online event, and we hope that you'll be able to join us for many of the events that we're running until the 22nd of January online. For those of you within proximity of Trinity Buoy Wharf who are taking their daily exercise, you'll be able to visit some of the exhibition. You'll be able to see through the window, and you'll also be able to watch some of the moving image works in their special setup outdoors and to participate in a participative drawing by M. Loram. We're also going to be launching the virtual exhibition online so that you can see how the exhibition sits in Trinity Buoy Wharf itself in the chain store. And we look forward to seeing you online, and we look forward to seeing you in the real as soon as we possibly can. Thank you and good evening.